right here is a 2023 Skidoo Renegade G5 XRS. Now for 2023, obviously this Renegade, because it's an 850, goes into the new G5 chassis. G5 is still the same tub and tunnel, still the same suspension as the previous version G4, but what has changed is the bodywork, the headlights, and a bunch of other small little changes that truly add up to a whole lot more than small little changes. They become something greater when put together, and I found that Skidoo for 23 has really started to fixate onto these little changes that make massive, massive improvements for you, the rider. Some of them that you're never gonna notice if you've never ridden a G4. Number one being the 850 motor having a fourth motor mount. You're gonna say, okay, what does a fourth motor mount do for me? Well, what it does is it reduces vibration on the snowmobile. Along with all of the matting that Skidoo has put inside this new bodywork, it means that you get both noise, vibration, and harshness reduced. It's called NVH. Reduced NVH means when you're riding the sled, you're going to feel less vibration. You're going to hear less motor noise. You're going to be able to experience the snowmobile ride in a way that is much more refined than the G4, and I really appreciate that about this snowmobile. There's some cool little things that Skidoo has changed. The LED headlight obviously is gonna improve your nighttime riding massively, and we've been waiting for this for a few years, but there's some small things. Take the drive shaft, for instance. It now can be removed from the snowmobile without dropping the lower chain case gear. This is huge. It means you don't have to mess with the oil. You don't have to change your chain case oil. You don't have to do anything if you wanna change a track. And for people buying a snowmobile at this price level, you may want to change the track. You may be keeping this snowmobile longer than the track has life for. And so that's something that's really important, because now a track change is so much easier to do at home yourself should you want to make this choice. Another cool thing is the rear suspension link has now been turned into a really easy to install system where the actual tunnel standouts drop right into the suspension, and it doesn't take you very long to take the rear skid out or likewise put it back in. These are small changes that go a long ways for people who like to work at home, who like to do their own maintenance on their sled, who maybe want to do some changes or suspension updates. This XRS Renegade has the Smart Shox system on it, which is the first true semi-automatic suspension system. So you still have control over your three settings that you want to put the suspension at, but then within those three settings, obviously, the brain inside Smart Shox reads through multiple different sensors on the shocks and in the suspension, and it knows where the suspension is at, and therefore it's updating multiple times a second, tweaking your ride, tweaking your compression, making changes, and making sure that you get the best ride possible. It does exactly what it's supposed to do, and it delivers a ride quality that you just don't find elsewhere. Now the 10¼ inch gauge is really intuitive, it's super smart, and it's very easy to work with, especially with the new hand controls on the left side. Everything is beautifully packaged, it works really well, and you can adjust your shocks, you can look at the different settings of the sled, you can find out if there's fault codes, all kinds of cool stuff here. Now, one of the things I really appreciate about the change from the G4 to the G5 is the ease of getting the bodywork off of this snowmobile. It takes almost no time to get the hood off this sled. There are 4 fasteners. They use the same tool, and the tool is included on the bodywork of the snowmobile. So taking the hood off takes just a mere minutes, which is really nice because other manufacturers have quick access, easy quarter turn locks or whatever it might be, and you can get everything off and get access to the engine. Skidoo has now made this way simpler. It's down from like 20 fasteners and 4 different tools to 1 tool and 4 fasteners. Really simple, really nice, and this allows you to be able to have the confidence that if something does need to be looked at under the hood, you can do this trail side. When it comes down to the ride and quality of the snowmobile, it hasn't changed from the G4. This still delivers an exceptionally good ride. The R motion in the rear skid with the Smart Shox is Buttery Plush. It gives you all day comfort, and the Smart Shox just enhances all of that goodness of R motion. Up front, RASX is a really, really laser focused front end suspension. It keeps it stuck to the trail. The rider forward design that Skidoo has been touting ever since the first rev is at work here. There's a lot of ski pressure on this snowmobile, but that's just the way that Skidoos ride. They definitely are stuck to the trail on the front end, which is something that most Skidoo riders really appreciate. Overall, the 2023 XRS G5 is just a top-notch snowmobile. If you early ordered one of these things, you are not going to be disappointed. There's all kinds of choices and options you can get, within the sled. You don't have to have Smart Shox, you don't have to have the 10.25 inch screen, but at the end of the day, both of those things are just super nice. They work great, and Skidoo has taken the word refinement and just taken it to a whole nother level within the snowmobile industry.